Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Monkey Mind Relaxation Chatter about the chatter. Thank you very much for joining us if you are catching us live or on the catch-up as a podcast. My name is Cuddy Cudworth. I am the host of this fabulous show, and what a world are we living in right now? It's just going out of this. Everything at this moment in time is completely up and down. There's the constant massive change going on a daily basis. It must be exhausting for so many people. There's so many things I do to keep away from the ups and downs of life that we have. Oh, hello, Graham. We have Graham tuning in. How are you, Graham? Great to see you. Welcome to the show. So we've got so much going on. Now, we want to discuss, before I get into today's story and today's guest, which is coming up very, very shortly, I did want to talk about so many things that's going on. Now, especially, now I live in Scotland, and I always say that we're living in Scotland, and it is January. Now, January, technically, they say is the most depressing time of the year. The most depressing time of the year. It's after Christmas. There is the lull. They say there is more, there's proof to say that there is more, violence within families, more arguments within families this time of year because there's that natural slump after Christmas and it all goes up. How are you? I am escalating a bad... Oh, Veronica! That's hilarious. Veronica, I am on an escalating ban on Facebook. Veronica, that's amazing. That's probably one of the best conversations I've ever seen into the chat. So January is that time of the year where depression is a lot higher. And January is notoriously the most depressing time of the year. And I just want to say that does play a lot on people's mental health, men's and females, males and females' mental health this time of year. And I am totally aware of that. So I want to... Hello, Sean. How are you, Sean? Martin, welcome to the show. By the way, if there's any listeners out there, I actually can't see if there's any listeners tuning into this one in any way whatsoever. So you are more than welcome to leave us a comment, and I will read it out for you as you get into the show. The comments are more than welcome to join in with the show. If you've got any questions, we are here to get you all talking about absolutely everything. So it's great to have you with us, Sean, Martin. Right, so we wanted to talk about today's show is a rags to riches story. That's right, no, a riches to rags story. That's right, it's going from riches to rags, and it's a story about hope. Now, somebody did say, before we get into our guest speaker today, who's going to be coming in, is going to be telling us a fabulous story, and it's going to be a roller coaster ride story, as people's lives are. I was chatting to somebody the other day, and they were saying, Cuddy, how are you always so positive? How are you always so happy? And I wanted to really, really distill that myth of, actually, I'm not always really, really happy. Yes, I'm positive, and I'm always looking, even though we've got so many problems in the world, I'm always looking for solutions. And that's something that I always choose to do, is really do look for the solutions that we can find, because we get so bogged down with the problems and challenges that we have. Oh, Leslie's in as well. This might be the highest viewing figures ever. This might actually be the highest viewing figures ever. So hi, Leslie. Welcome to the show. So you can really get bogged down in not being able to find, when there's so many problems building up, especially this time of year when those bills start building up. And I did see something on Facebook, and I'm going to talk about social media as well and how you can use it to your benefit instead of it being putting you on that downward spiral that we often talk about. Increasing that chatter that we have on the inside, that chatter about the chatter. So I'm always never sure, because I always like to make sure that there's some really simple things that you can do to change your emotional state, to change your mental state on a daily basis. Now, one of the most powerful things that I ever learned many, many, many years ago was about the brainwaves that we have and how you are more susceptible to negativity for the first 20 minutes to 30 minutes of the day. And for the last 20 to 30 minutes when you're just about to fall asleep. Now, these two times of the day, you are like a sponge. You are not fully awake. So beta, your brain waves, when you're in beta mode, your beta brain waves is when you are fully cognizant, you are awake, you're happening, you're absolutely loving it. However, there is an alpha brain state, which is when you're in a drowsy state, you're not fully awake. It's that little semi-conscious state. It's a state we like to go into when we're meditating. And I always talk about meditating to absolutely everyone and how much it helped me, especially with that conversation in my mind. But once you start understanding those different brainwave levels, and you can understand that the first 30, I'm going to call it to 45 minutes when you wake up in the morning, you are not fully awake. This is when your brain waves are at a different level. They are more susceptible to negativity. So if you're the kind of person that wakes up in the morning and goes right onto social media, and especially Instagram, whatever social media platform you look at, and you see somebody enjoying themselves, having a fantastic time, and you're thinking, oh, I've got to go to work and everything, you are actually putting yourself into a bad mood and picking up on negativity because you've got the comparison there. Now, unless you start training yourself on that, to have that mental state, to understand that when you are not awake at first in the morning, stay away from social media or the news. Stay away from the news, especially now. And I'm laughing now because it's just constant. I can't remember the last time I watched anything on the news and thought, oh, that was a really positive thing. Now, I know that people need information. It's such an important thing. But just be totally aware, for everyone that's listening, Sean, Veronica, Graham, I'm sure you know about this, Leslie, is when you're first thing in the morning, actually use social media or YouTube, and I use YouTube as an example, to your benefit, and start putting something on first thing in the morning when you're not fully awake. If you're the kind of person that needs something on, use that social media, use that platform to get some good, positive motivation into you for the day. That's generally what I do. I'm in a lovely little club that just sets me up for the rest of the day. Every morning we talk about positive things and how we can move forward and how we can encourage each other. And that's genuinely why, to the answer to the person that asked me, why are you always so positive? Because I know that I am fully awake. Until I'm fully awake, I stay away from negativity. Social media, the news, TV, anything like that. I'm just not that way inclined. I don't want anything that's going to put me on that downward spiral for the rest of the day. But that's the same when you're going to bed, when you're just about to get a little bit drowsy and you're on the blue screen. You're on, I don't know if this is that a thing? I'm making out this is your phone. And you're scrolling, and social media is just full of, oh, look at me. And sometimes you may be not in the best of mood, and you might see someone's face smile and think, what have they got to smile about? Because that's that internal chatter that we have, right? That is that internal chatter that we have. So stay away from those platforms unless you're going to start switching that. Because I don't think that social media is the worst thing in the world if you know how to manage it in your life and how you to be able to use that to your benefit. Everything is about using all the things that we have, these fabulous things, to your benefit. So at this time of year, I just thought, especially with it being so much darker in the mornings, but I don't know if you've noticed, it is getting a little bit lighter earlier and earlier in the morning. And it won't be long until about March, April, when you're thinking, oh, well, you've got still February to go, but it's starting to get lighter. Now, our moods change with the light. That is what vitamin D does for you. It changes with the light. So you've got these positive, fabulous things coming out. And we were walking around. Me and my wife actually went for I'm looking as if my wife's just behind me. She's not. We went for a walk, and we noticed the daffodils was out and the snowdrops are coming out. Now, that's January because the weather is so nice. For this time of year, it started to get a little bit nicer. Now, I know Veronica is just over the water, over there, just over the water. I always point to you, Veronica, the loyal listener. And great to have Sean in as well. So I really wanted to be able to share that with you, to really be able to think, well, actually, I wasn't aware of that. Because when I first found out about that, many years ago, I was like, I did not know that. And I'd done certain things first thing in the morning. I'm like, why am I just in a bad mood for the rest of the day? And that is why you are like a sponge for the first 20, 30, 45 minutes of the day before you're fully cognizant of what's going on. So hopefully that brings some little solace and some little information, and that's not only massive value, but like, wow, did not know that. I can work on that so I can start changing the way that our minds work, and especially our monkey mind. So today we are going to be talking to a fabulous guest. I actually a lot of people, if they are tuning in, might be thinking, oh, we've been friends. Actually, we don't know each other that well at all. We only met once a long time ago on a leadership weekend that we were both at. And we actually didn't over the top speak. We were just acquaintances in a previous life that we were in. But we're going to be talking today about a fabulous story. When he told me about the story, and that is the thing, people don't know what people are going through. And if anything you take away from today's show is that's why I always say this: thoughts and emotions and judgment are like boomerangs. Whatever you throw out, you're going to get it back. And a lot of the times we can be quite quick to judge. I know I was about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago now, I was the worst at judgment. And I had to absolutely just take that out of my life. That was the biggest thing. I was creating so many judgments about others, about myself. And I had to start taking those things away. And you never, ever know what's going on in someone else's life. People walk around, and especially, look, it's men's radio station, especially gentlemen, we are so not able to talk about things and to be able to open up. And I've been, especially actually, and I have to say, I'm going to give a round of applause to my clients recently. I've been working with more men. It did start out when I first started on this journey. I was actually working with ladies, but more men are really starting to open up. But it's such an important part. There's so many avenues and areas for us to be able to really start making those changes and really start making those changes, as I had to in my life, and I know that my guest had to make in his life. So today's story is all about, and it's not really just a story. This is true life. This is facts. This is what it is all about. And it's a riches to rags story. And we are going to bring him in, and we're going to have a big old chat, and we are going to deep dive this gentleman's story. And we're going to talk about absolutely everything from his point of view and how he saw the world and how it affected him and what he's doing now that's got him back on the righteous path, or the right path for him. And that is a huge part. So, Sina, let's bring him into the show. Let's say hello to Richard Spacey, everybody. Richard Spacey.
Hello, Teddy. How are you?
I love the branding on the t-shirt straight away.
Always going to have it on. How you doing, mate? Well, look, we've both been sponsored by Under Armour as well, apparently.
In all fairness, I'm a big fan of, and I'll tell you why. Before we get into this, the reason I got into Under Armour, I started learning about affirmations many years ago. I did not know anything about affirmations, and I didn't understand about the conversations that we had, which is where chatter about the chatter came from. But I started creating an affirmation of I can, I will, I do. So every time I was getting myself into stressful situations or anxious states and situations I didn't want to be in, I was like, no, I can, I will, I do. I can, I will, I do. That's how I changed my mindset. I was like, oh, I've got to be able to make some money out of this, right? I was really like, I've got to be able to make some money out of this, until I realized I'd got about 4 shopping bags from Under Armour. And on every one of the shopping bag, it said, I can, I will, I do. That was their branding.
Amazing.
I was like, true story.
We convince ourselves we come up with these ideas, don't we? Like, there's so many amazing ideas that I've had that I later found out, oh no, you told me that 20 years ago.
True story. Now, Richard, I was saying before we got you on, we are actually not that close off. That we never worked together. We never really same circle of friends, I suppose, and things like that. And I was in the business a lot later than you. We were on a leadership course. It was a leadership course that popped up.
It was down in Plymouth, if I remember correctly.
Yes, absolutely. And I went looking for your photos so I could take a picture for the radio show, and I was like, oh, that's the picture from the leadership course.
You picked the douchiest picture I've ever had taken in my entire life. Wearing sunglasses with my tops off. Luckily, it's only showing up for him, but I thought, oh my, here's me telling I've gone away from all of that, and you posted that picture. Great.
And do you know what, mate? It's so good that you can laugh about those things and laugh about these things now. And that's the other side of the story. So we're at this part of the story now. For anyone, we've got Chris Hall. How are you, Chris? Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. So we're laughing about things now. And that's, I remember from the struggles that I had many, many, many years ago that I couldn't laugh about certain things. It just became too much for me. But when we talked about your story about, was it just before Christmas, you reached out and said, oh, I didn't realize you were doing all these things. I'm like, oh yeah, my God, meditation is saved my life and stuff like that. And you touched on your story and I was like, Richard, I never knew, mate. I never knew.
Yeah. Well, that's just the thing, because we don't talk about it, do we?
No, we don't.
And that's the issue. And to be fair, me telling the story now out loud would be the only time that I've told this story, apart from in therapy.
Yes. That's a powerful thing to do. Yes. No, we'll get to the book. We'll get to the book because that's important. That's really is important. So, good for saying therapy. Fantastic. And I say that with the most respect in the world, mate. And I mean that sincerely. So let's go back to how many years ago now?
Well, there's 2 dates that really marked. And funnily enough, one of them was the advanced leadership course that we're on together back in 2012. But the real day and where the book starts is back in 2014.
Right. Now, before we go into the story, I do remember one thing from the leadership course. You got over the fence before me and you pulled me up the fence because no one else was going to be able to pull me up the fence. Remember? And then me and you were on top of the wall helping everybody else because that was the only way it was going to work on the assault course.
Yeah. And I want to point something out here that we actually won the prize on that leadership course, didn't we? Me and you. I mean, how low was the bar?
Oh, that's funny.
But before I go into it, Cuddy, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for doing what you do. It's so important. And up until about 2 years ago, I had no idea how important it was. And the fact that you're talking about things and making it all right for other people to talk about things, you and Men's Radio, I just, tip of the cap, you're doing fantastic work. Keep going and keep pushing the message out there that it's all right. It's all right to struggle. It's all right. And there's always someone to talk to.
Absolutely. Always somebody to talk to. Always. Good on you, Richard. Thank you so much. Kind words, mate. Kind words. So let's take everybody back. Let's go back to, I'll introduce Richard Spacey, cruise director, everyone thinking living the best life.
Yes. And to everyone's outside perception, I'm sure it was. It was 2014, and this is basically how my book starts, with me standing on my balcony in Miami, overlooking the sunset, glass of vodka in my hand, and thinking, I could throw myself off here right now. I got nothing to live for. I'm lonely. I'm unhappy. Everything I was taught all my life that would make me happy hasn't made me happy. You know, I had a good job. I had property portfolio all over the world, sports car, women, everything that you're told. Once you have this, definitely, then you'll be enough. And I'm here to tell you right now, it wasn't the case at all. I was absolutely distraught and I couldn't see a way out. But luckily, I did something that night as a 37-year-old man that now I know. At the time, I thought, oh, I'm being so weak doing this. But I called my mum and I said, Mum, I'm struggling. And she said, come home, Rich. You need to come home. And she didn't know it at the time, but she saved my life that night.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm getting emotional talking about it, mate.
Yeah, I'm quite an emotional person, so I do apologize if I go a bit that way. But I want to kind of backtrack now to that leadership course, because there was something that happened on that leadership course that I've discussed with you since that had a profound effect on me. And it was one of the lectures, I can't remember his name, but he mentioned he said, he just came out with it. There was no pretext or anything. He just said there are 3 steps to being happy: something to do, something to look forward to, and someone to love. And it just it's like a bolt of lightning just exploded inside my head. And I'm looking around the room and no one else seems to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm looking around for all this recognition. No one's looking at me. Everyone's like, you know, I think it was the end of the day. Everyone's a bit, yeah. But I'm like, this is, so I wrote it down. I thought, that's it. I'm going to put together something that's going to be something to do. So I'm going to write down all the things that are going to make me happy, something to look forward to, all the things that I can look forward to, and someone to love, you know, and whatever that entails. So I made 3 columns and I put all the stuff in there, but I was confusing pleasure with happiness. And I was putting things in there like, I want my perfect car, I want my perfect wife, I want loads of money. And so that's what I strive to do over the next couple of years, which obviously led me to the balcony, which wasn't a good place to be. So I was just so confused because I thought, look, I've done everything that society tells me to. You know, I've got the right clothes on, I'm living in Miami, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not happy. So maybe this isn't the way. Maybe it's time to rethink things. So I did go home. I flew home to see my mum and had a little bit what I like to call a wobble.
A wobbler.
Have a little wobble. And I had a couple of those in my life, but it occurred to me that what I was doing wasn't making me happy. But by that time, I got what I refer to as golden handcuffs. So I'd got into this world where I had financial commitments that I couldn't just quit everything and throw everything away. And so what I decided to do was to go back to ships, which is something that I never thought I would do, but I knew ships and I thought I could do well on ships. I didn't want to go back to Royal at the time, so I went to work for a sister company, Celebrity, where Becky Thompson-Foley, who was on your show not so long ago, very kindly invited me to come be cruise director there. Yep. And I was there, so during that time I sold off a lot of my property. Rather than when I was at Royal, it was all about the parties. I'm sure you might have heard some of the stories about some of the parties and stuff that we used to throw, but it was honest to goodness, it was crackers. It was like Wolf of Wall Street. That's the only way I can describe it. When I first joined ships back in '97, it was just anything goes, goes, and it did go. That's probably going to be my second book I write. But what happened was, so that was all going on. But I managed to get to a point where I'd sold off all the property I needed to, and I put myself in a good position that at 42 years of age, I'm 45 now, but 42 years of age, I could retire. And so I bought a business early, about 2 years before that, called Atlas Gym. And I didn't buy Under Armour. I just want to make sure that's very clear. I want that wealthy. So I bought Atlas Gym and built it into a nice little successful business. We got some personal trainers working down there. So I got off the ship, and that was tough. The last time getting off the ship, as I'm sure you can appreciate, when you're so. I knew I could be a success on ships, but I was afraid. To go back to land.
Real life, yeah.
Real life is scary.
Yeah, yes, 100%.
So I went back, and the thing I didn't really figure out was what I was actually going to do, because I was thinking this would be great. I'm going to spend all this time with my friends, my family. Well, your friends and family are still working. It's just because you're not, it doesn't mean that they're not. And obviously, I'm not that smart. I didn't figure this out. So, unfortunately, I started to go downhill a bit. I put on, I would say, about 20, 25 pounds of weight. I started to get depressed again, and definitely had the same sort of feelings as I started to have while I was in Miami. Yeah. And then the worst thing of all, because my little bit of focus was the gym, and then COVID hit, shut gym down. That was my one bit of focus. So now I'm really starting to panic. I'm like, oh, I've got nothing going on now. Well, I say nothing. There was a couple of odd jobs that needed going down the gym, a bit of painting and that. So I thought that I would start to listen to podcasts. I'd heard about podcasts before 2 years ago. I'd never listened to a podcast. And Chris Evans was mentioning a guy he listened to called Rich Roll. Sounded interesting. Started listening to him. Well, that was it. I was hooked. 7 hours a day. I consumed about consumed about 700 hours in about 4 months. So I was listening solidly to him, and not just him, but he's a gift. He is a real saint on earth, that one. But it was the people he had on, and he had these amazing people on that I'd never heard of before. Mark Manson, incredible stuff. Ryan Holiday.
Ego is the enemy.
Dan Buettner, these beautiful souls. And as I'm listening to them, I'm thinking, well, this is what I want to be. This, I don't want to be the person that I've been. I want to be doing this. So I started to change, and my values started to change, and my mindset started to change. And because I wasn't distracted by anything else, I had all this time to really focus on it. So I just devoured. I was reading thousands of books. I watched hundreds of documentaries, of TED Talks, and I just wanted to I was thirsty for that information. And I got it all, got it all in there. And then I picked out my old Best Life check sheet and totally rewrote it. So taking off the things like perfect life, perfect wife. You'll be very happy to hear this. The very first thing on there is meditation. Of course. Once you know, right? Once you know. It's 1% of your life that makes 99% of your life better. Yeah. That's a quote, I think, from Rich Roll. But what I did then, I made the 3 sections: something to do, something to look forward to, and somebody to love. Then I put as a subheading for something to do, a healthy mind and body, because that's something that I knew would make me happy. Yeah. Something to look forward to, financial freedom. So not becoming rich, but removing how important finances were in my life. Yeah. And then finally, somebody to love, a fulfilling relationship with your community. So that could be whoever it is, your family, your friends, nice. Your partner, whoever. And then I started putting words down in each one, which were important for me to work at. So I thought I'll put this up in the kitchen. And then, for instance, under something to do, I've got meditation, physical health, action cures fear, sleep, education, new experiences, and self-compassion. And I thought, put all them in there, then I'll do the something to look forward to. And I was thinking, pursue my calling, find my home. So not looking for an amazing house, just find somewhere that feels like home, travel and achieve my goals. And then finally, on the somebody to love, I divide it into be of service, increase happiness, decrease pleasure, increase tribe time, appreciation, be present, be gracious, and show compassion for others. So that was completely a different list than what I was dealing with before. So knowing that I had and you'll know this, Cuddy, you're going to get your own house in order before you can help anyone else. Absolutely. So I started getting myself in shape. That was the first thing I did. And I thought, well, it's not just about health of your body, about health of your mind as well. So I signed up for counseling sessions, for therapy, and that was a revelation. I mean, I know men in the past have maybe not been as vocal as they could be about it. I go to therapy and I love it. I can't wait to find out more about myself. It's so empowering when you find out stuff and it's like, oh, this is why I've always acted this way. Oh, I can stop doing this. I don't have to be this self-fulfilling prophecy and keep going down this pathway. Yep. So I started doing this, and I was chatting with a very good friend of mine, Sarah Kerr. She's a life coach, Sarah Kerr Coaching. Amazing. And we were discussing it, and she said to me, well, you've got to share this with other people. You know, and part of the thing was be of service. She said, you're going to share this with other people, but you're going to need to write a book, because you just put a load of titles down on a piece of paper. It's not going to mean anything to anyone. And I was chatting with another friend of mine from college who we used to play on the same basketball team, Nathan Sage, great guy. And I was bouncing some ideas off him, and I just started putting this thing together, and I decided that the company was going to be called Best Life Inc. best life because it's a millennial saying, isn't it? It's something that's you're living your best life, and I want it to be a real thing, an actual thing, as opposed to he just doesn't seem to be caring about anything. But and I decided I'm still unsure of the full title of the book, but it's a Best Life Inc. And then I was thinking something like A Quest for Happiness or A Tale of Happiness, something like that. So what I did was I put all my 44 years of experience and everything that I'd learned through all my therapy sessions, through educating myself through all these amazing authors, and I crammed it into the pages of this book, and then more concisely into this one sheet of paper that you can, stick up somewhere in your house. Or have on your phone. That's me, old school. Generation X. Yeah. Or you can save the trees and keep it on your phone. And there's a small section where you can write in your short-term goal, a small section for your long-term goal, and then you can write your legacy. So each one of those is supposed to inspire a different point in your life, and it could be something easy like. But short-term goal could be maybe meditating every day for the next week. Long-term goal, maybe getting a regular meditation practice in for this amount of time. And then what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for? And it could be something like, that he was a nice person. That's great. Yeah. If that's how you're remembered, he was a good friend. Brilliant. You don't have to, be a master of the universe. You don't have to be a titan of industry at all. Just show a little kindness where you can. Just, check with people. Like being someone that no one knew up until 2 years ago. No one had known that I was suicidal in my life. Because every time someone asked me, Rich, how you doing? Fine. Trigger response. Fine. I'm fine. You've got to ask them twice. Ask them again. You've got to ask them twice. You say, are you all right? They say, fine. You say, no, really, are you all right? And it gives them a beat to think to themselves, am I really all right? And I have found that that's been, and there's some amazing, as I mentioned at the start, there is always someone to talk to. And if it's not a family member or a friend or a work colleague, then there's amazing charities, the Samaritans, Shout's brilliant because you don't even have to talk to them. You can just text them on a phone. Every Mind Matters, Young Minds, there's so many, and they're absolutely amazing places that you can talk to if you're having these sorts of thoughts. And another very powerful thing to remember, and this, I believe I'm quoting this right from mind.org, 1 in 5 men in the United Kingdom have suicidal thoughts. So if you're having these thoughts, you are not alone, and never think you are on your own. It's so important to talk. And if I hadn't talked to my mum that day, I could well not be here right now.
Good old mum. Good old mum.
Brilliant. Who knew?
Always. Who knew? Your mum knew. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Your mum knew.
Of course you
right.
did. Yeah.
So that's I love where you are. I love it. And I told you in the email, by the way, I'm going to really deep dive. We have to go back to that dark time for our listeners so that they can understand, because you're talking about the good times now, and that's brilliant. That's absolutely fantastic. And the podcast, for everyone that's tuned into the podcast, it's the podcast is called Chatter About the Chatter. That's what I'm always known about it for, is the monkey mind, the conversations we have with ourselves, which often lead to suicide. They're so self-debilitating. My mantra is, if you're not talking nice up here, you're just not doing yourself any justice whatsoever. It's those conversations we have with ourselves. In fact, I'll tell you what it was, Richard. When I was at such a bad place, I was sat at dinner with my wife. My wife in the windjammer. You'll know the term windjammer. So she sat across from me, and she's talking to me, and she's all I'm hearing is because I was so locked up here with the thoughts, the conversations of what's everyone thinking about me? Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Oh my God, this is stupid. This is absolutely meant. But I just couldn't get something had happened to me. And I've talked about it in the past. It was the audition. It was an audition for the job. And it was
Oh,
just,
right.
it just absolutely shattered and broke my ego because I'd done everything that I supposed I was to do. And then I did the exact same thing. I went on that journey of like, why the hell is happening? What's getting comfy? Why am I just getting stuck here? And my wife said, whatever you're going through, I've tried to help, I've tried to support, I've tried to talk, but it's just not working. You have to go and do something about it. And I just went on that journey of books, and it's like where have these books been my entire life? Where have these books been my entire life? Because it's the manual for how to live. I totally agree with that. But we need to talk about your conversations that you had and how long did you struggle with those conversations? Because I know you'll have had those conversations. I know you'll have had those conversations. It's not just a standing on the veranda in Miami. That was how many years was it that got you on that to the ledge?
Because I've spent a lot of time on my own. I dated a lot, but didn't have any really serious relationships, which meant that I spent a lot of time on my own on a ship. So you're back in your cabin, you've got a lot of time to think, and it's crazy. It's the lesson to learn is the self-compassion thing is huge, because someone said to me, I think was it my therapist? Someone said to me, would you say these things to other people that you're saying to yourself? And I'm like,
that's
no
right.
way.
Yeah, you wouldn't talk to your friends like that. Why do you talk to yourself like that? Yes.
Why do you talk to yourself like that? And I'm like, that's a really good point. Never thought of it like that. Thank you very much. But what you were saying is absolutely spot on. Like, I used to think people that committed suicide were selfish because I didn't understand. And I thought, it's not you, is it? You've left all these people behind that grieving. But the thing that I only noticed when it was me stood there was I wasn't thinking about anyone else, because you become very insular. You just think about yourself. I wasn't thinking about anyone else. I just had a bit of an argument with a friend, which was, that one straw that broke the camel back. I wasn't really enjoying working in an office. All these things, my family were far away from me. I did have some friends there, but I didn't want to share what I was feeling with them. So I just kept it all inside, and it just went round and round. And, you have this negative thought process, and it's a shame spiral, isn't it? And it just goes down and down and down, and then you need to numb the pain a bit. So you have a drink or, what have you. So, I mean, it was a very painful time, and I don't know how I would feel about going back to Miami now. I've got no desire to return to that city just because it holds some negative memories for me, and nothing about the city. The city is absolutely fine, but I pulled what's called in addiction geographical. I needed to move away from there, and that's why moving back to England that helped me, because I was removed away from the shame of I wanted to commit suicide in America, but back home I'm fine. I'm fine here. And you think alcoholics do it, drug addicts do it. They change cities because they think, I can leave that all behind me there, and it never truly works. You still got to do the work on yourself. And until I did the work on myself, I still was there. And I don't want to think, and this is something that used to kind of get into my head. I'm not a finished article at all. I'll be very honest and say about 3 months ago, I had a pretty serious wobble again. But now I've got the tools in place, and I've got the team in place, that as soon as I'm feeling this way, I was right, I've got to call this person and send this person an email. This is how I'm feeling. What should I do? And then just the information comes back. You're doing fine, and so never think anyone is a finished product. Just because I found out what makes me happy, I'm not happy all the time. I have bad times. I have good times. You can't sustain happiness. It's fleeting, but what you can be is more present and appreciate it more, and have smaller, littler things that make you happy. Like, what used to make me happy? Buying a car. What makes me happy now? Going out for a walk on a nice cold morning, seeing the frost on the nettles. saying hello to people as I pass them, going out for a go on my kayak out the river, and it's just that change of frame of mind that you can be happy spending zero money, and
right,
and you can experience, and it's brilliant, and as I said, when I went on this journey, I was like, the crazy thing started happening to me was I became happier, and I'm like, but I'm not spending any money. How much happier now than I was back then? And I'm not spending, as much money. And because you've obviously done the work on yourself as well. But it's an amazing revelation, and what a relief when you finally worked it out. You're like, okay, don't have to earn a lot of money, just enough to get by, and that's fine, and and all that sort of stuff. So that's obviously one of the lessons. I say lessons, it's not a lesson. That's one of the things that I learned, and everything you see in my book, I've experienced and I've done and I've read about. So I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that it'll work for you, but it worked for me, and that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't hurt to give it a try and see if it does, because that's what I did. See, I've read probably a lot of similar books to what you've read, but not all of them resonated with me. I took a little bit out of this one, I take a bit out of this one, a little bit out of that one, and that's what I invite people to do with my book. Read through it and just take out little bits that you find you think, well, okay, I already knew that, so that's fine, but this is interesting. Give it a try for a bit, see what happens. Really, you've got nothing to lose. I'm not telling you to go out there and spend loads of money. I'm just saying, as you said, different frame of minds. When you wake up in the morning, that's a perfect example. I never, ever go on social media or news. I get up, I make my bed first. I always make my bed, and then I have my morning stretch, and then my meditation, and then my journal, and then I read for half an hour, and then I get round to doing anything. But I've got to have my morning routine, and that keeps me focused. I work better in the mornings, I found out. I start to lose the will. Yeah. I lose the will to live at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm done. 2 o'clock. I'm the same. I'll get up at 6 o'clock.
That's why I didn't work out in the office. I'm like, it's 3 o'clock, and I'm like, everyone's still here. Why are you still here?
So we've got a few more minutes before we morning routines are crucial. Look, my morning routine is pretty much solid. Wake up, I've got a 7 a.m. call. I've started walking there, and I dip. I'm mad into dipping. I will absolutely dipping. I know it's horrible, but what it does to your mental state is just phenomenal. And look, I mention this in every group. And to Veronica, I think I'm coming over to Portobello on Sunday. There's a fabulous dipping group, the Edinburgh Bros, all the way over in Edinburgh, and that's why I started a local one, because I can't get over there all the time. So I thought, you know what, it's a great idea. And I'm just going to start this 5 Dippers Men's Mental Health Dipping Society to get guys dipping and talking and just getting into that place, because what Mark does over there is absolutely fantastic. So you touched on Ryan Holiday, and look, ego is the enemy is his book. So let's talk about you and ego and how disastrous that ego was to you back in the day.
Oh, yes. So the Ryan Holiday book that I've actually read is the Daily Stoic, which I think came out after that one. So I haven't read that one. But yeah, I mean, as a cruise director, because I was so competitive, I found it really difficult to make friends with other cruise directors, because I saw them as my, not enemy, but I can't think of another word, and we never worked together. But I was aware of you. You hear names, don't you, out and about, and that sort of thing. But I think for the time that I was there, you became a cruise director, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. God, 6 years. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think at the time when we met, though, I think you're activities manager.
I was still the activities manager. Yes.
Right. Okay. So it's. Ego messes with you. It really does. Okay, so perfect example, and I'm not claiming this. This is from a beautiful soul called Eckhart Tolle. And
I love Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle. My God, he's a legend. Absolutely. Carry on.
Power of Now. He's like a 4'10", like force of nature. He is absolutely glorious human being. But when you remove your ego from a situation, all of it, like the reason that a situation is bad for you or good for you is because you attach your ego to it. But when you take your ego out of it, then, and that's easier said than done, and I'm still working on it, and I work on it every single day, but I'm getting a little bit better than I was before. But the ego can definitely mess you up. It can be used in a positive way as well.
Absolutely.
But I think all in all, my ego certainly looks a bit different now than it used to back in the day. I was, cock of the walk. Just because I managed to get some decent ratings, all of a sudden I was, you think you're God's gift, don't you? And you're not.
Do you know what? But no, and that's the very humbling part of it all. And I'm always wanting to learn more, and I'm always very much aware of ego in myself and others around. And I read the book Detox Your Ego, and I was like, that is absolutely right. We don't have to be, and that's why, as a cruise director, I never ever worried about taking over from other cruise directors. And I'll mention one cruise director. I know he's not listening, but I'll mention one cruise director. Nobody ever wanted to follow. I'm like, nah, I don't mind. Doesn't bother me. Put me in after him, not a problem. And he's my absolute bestest friend, and that's Joff Eaton. Joff Eaton, absolute legend of cruise director for me. And everyone's like, oh, no, you don't want to follow Joff. I'm like, no, I'll follow Joff. And that was the pure reason of that is I'm not Joff. I'm never going to be Joff. You've got to like. I like me. I got to a point where, no, I like me. I'm comfortable with me. I'm not going to do Joff. I'm not going to be Joff. I'm Cuddy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That was how I detoxed, which is why I never minded following Joff. And I didn't mind following the cruise directors. Didn't mind.
Yeah.
Didn't mind because I'm like, it's not me. Just not me. I'm Cuddy. This is what I'll do, and we'll make it work.
That's a lot healthier way of the way I dealt with it. I think I'm like, I'm going to blow you out of the water, and I wouldn't sleep for the first week, and I'll be up at everything, But yeah, that is. I'm definitely leaning more towards your way of thinking now. But,
absolutely.
On that front, I have to give you props. Five Dippers, I am loving it. I'm a big Wim Hof fan. And you haven't read it. If you ever get a chance to read the Wim Hof method, definitely read it.
Right. I will mention the Wim Hof method. After round 3, I'm like, nah, not doing it. After round 3, I'm like, no, there's 15 levels of this. No, absolutely no. Level 3, I'm like, nah, can't do it. And I don't like cold showers. I tell everyone, I won't even do a cold shower. I'm like, no, it's horrible. However, I meditate getting into the water. I meditate walking from one room to another. I make sure I'm focused on the breath, and I make myself as present as I can in every situation. And I tell everybody about stresses for stress management and stuff like that. You're not stressed about something. You're thinking something that's making you stressed. And you work on your thoughts, change your thoughts, change your life. That's always my mantra and stuff like that. So absolutely, I can't. The Wim Hof, I love him, legend, absolutely fantastic. But I meditate in the water. I focus on the breath. That's all I do to get in the water, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
To be fair, I think he does as well. But no, you've got to have your own way of doing these things. That's brilliant. And I wanted to give you a shout out for all the strongman stuff you're doing at the moment. I love it, mate. I've been checking in on that. My granddad was a strongman, and so I love watching. He was a fascinating chap. Not going off on a tangent here, but
it's fine.
He was a wrestler. He held the world record for right-handed deadlifts. He was a stuntman for George Formby in a film called Keep Fit. It was a legend, absolute legend. But this is how different diet has changed now. He used to drink a pint of cream a day to put on size. Can you believe it? Can you imagine doing that now? Your heart would just explode.
Yeah. So and thank you for the strongman stuff. Look, I'm going to just drop in on the comments here. Look, Veronica Karan says TAE, meaning T, something you are thankful for. A, accept and acknowledge something you have achieved. And E, excited for something you are. So Veronica always gives some great tips for the show. And excited for something you are doing and planned. This was a daily show guest. All right, yeah, absolutely fantastic. We need a mental health festival show, good bands and a collection of therapies. Child to seniors. Actually, Veronica, myself and a couple of people are creating a community called Mind Valley, and we're going to be doing a community gathering, virtual, to get everybody involved in a mental health workout. That's going to be coming up in March.
Amazing.
April, actually, in Mind Valley. Not Mind Valley. We've called ourselves something else. Mind Haven. Mind Haven. It's not from Mind Valley in any way whatsoever, Richard. And yeah, I've just got Leslie saying, no, it's called Mind Haven. Mind Haven. Yes, I would. Veronica says I would hyperventilate in cold water, maybe a coffee, maybe. Yeah, it takes 6 dips to get your body used to the amount of stress that you're putting into. But I can guarantee anyone now, once you've put yourself under that stress, what you think's making you stressed goes away. That's because you're like, no, water is actually stressful. Actually, the problem that I thought I had is not stressful. It's not as big as it was. Richard, this was a great chat.
Oh, bless you.
I've
really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on. And as I said, the stuff you're doing is fantastic. I would like to come back on, actually, maybe, when the book's ready to go out. I'm on the final edit right now.
Absolutely. Look, Richard, I know that we've not been as close as a lot of the other crew, but there is no ego with me. That's the thing. Whatever people think of me has got nothing to do with me. I am nothing but loving, open, and kind. And since I've changed business and became a mind management coach and helping people through what you've gone through, and I've just been working with, actually, I've been really surprised by how many of my friends have actually reached out and said, actually, Cuddy, I think we need to have a chat. I need some sessions. And that's what being a mind management coach is all about, is getting people from where you are to where you want to be with that little, come on, I'll take you. We've got the tools that you're going to need, that I know I needed, and stuff like that. So that's the journey. It's the blessing. It's a beautiful way to give back. It's purposeful.
100%. 100%. After all, why are we here, right?
Yeah. Once we've got that purpose, we've got plenty of minutes. Please talk about whatever you want, because we've got 9 minutes left and you're on to the end.
Well, one thing I would like to mention, Best Life Inc. is the company that I put together. So I think eventually what I would like to do is each chapter of the book, I would like to have a business linked to that chapter. So for the meditation chapter, I would like to have a meditation retreat. For the, say, the physical health, I've obviously got Atlas Gym. So what I'm going to try and do over the next number of years, that's kind of like my pet project, is build up this company that's going to be an online community where people are there for each other, and, they're part of the Best Life Inc. Family, and they support each other. And if you're struggling, you can reach out on there and you'll just get nothing but support from the other people involved there. But the book, I'm doing the final edit now, and hopefully that should be out later on this year. But through the writing of this book, I have come up with a description for happiness.
Nice.
And would it be all right if I read it out?
Absolutely, Richard.
Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so this is my thought on what happiness is.
Love it.
There is no shortcut to happiness or a better life. There is no end game or finish line. It's about embracing and enjoying the journey. Happiness is not a sustainable feeling. It is a daily practice to ensure that you're making the most of every day. Not wanting an easy life, but appreciating and learning from adversity. Not desiring things that we don't have, but instead appreciating what we have already been blessed with. Not competing with your neighbor, but focusing on how to improve your life each day. Not dwelling on the mistakes of our past or worrying what the future will hold. It is learning to fully experience and appreciate the here and now. That is the point, and that is happiness. Now go and live your best life, my friend.
Who would have thought when you were creating a Halloween special?
Still do that.
Richard Spacey, because that was what I didn't know about your Halloween specials, and I had right. So look, we've got a few minutes. I'm going to tell you what meditation does for any of our listeners. Is meditation takes you away from you for 10, 15 minutes. And it takes you away from ego. That takes you away from you. That thinks the problem. That's our meditation, and that takes me away from me. Gives me a break from me for 20 minutes a day, which you need. We need that break from us. And I started meditating. I was really on it every day on the ships. It was like 1 o'clock every day, 30 minutes, 1 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
That was the perfect time for me. And I started getting these images and visions, and I'm like, well, this is just the strangest thing in the world. But once that conversation stopped, this creative little voice came up, and I'm like, oh, by the way, this would make a good scene. This would make a good scene. This would make a good scene. And I'd created a 45-minute horror movie.
Wow.
And I'd like, I took it from these scenes and these scenes and this, and we did it on the ship, and everybody was like, oh God, Richard Spacey used to do this. Richard Spacey used to do this. I'm like, I've no idea what you're talking about. I've just got these images, and we're going to do this, and it just accumulated. Like, I think it worked out about a 12-minute video into this big ensemble on stage and stuff like that. But everybody used to always comment about, oh yeah, Richard Spacey used to do this. Richard Spacey used to do these, and I because we'd never worked together or anything like that, I said, oh, brilliant, whatever. But the meditation created this openness for me to really be creative, and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I had scripts. I'd never written a script in my entire life. So yes, I am that person, as I'm sure you are, that I will not shut up about dipping. Go and do it. It'll change your life. And if you're not meditating, and whenever anyone says I can't meditate, I'm like, you're the person that needs meditation.
Big time.
You say you can't meditate, you are the one that needs meditation in your life. Fact.
It's called a practice for a reason.
It certainly is. It certainly is. So we've got a few minutes left. I want you to say which one book was the game changer for you. There's always one you'll go back to. I've got 3, but I always go back to one that was my game changer that changed my life. Which was your
I can tell you right away. Or actually, the one is Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a...
Yeah, absolutely. Good book.
And financially, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins was a bit of a game changer for me. But that was a different part of my life. But that changed my way. And basically, that was what got me to a place when I could sort of semi-retire at 42, following some of his advice. So, but Mark Manson, Ryan Holiday's book, the Daily Stoic, I love. The Blue Zones by Dan Buettner. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. There's so many good things. I know you're probably the Monkey Mind as well, right?
I was Steve Peters' Monkey Mind, absolutely. The Chimp Paradox.
Yeah.
Chimp Paradox.
Yeah, the Chimp Paradox, that's right.
Chimp Paradox, phenomenal book. I went and did some courses with him as well because I was like, I absolutely love this. Really technical book, though. It is a technical book. And a lot of people say, oh, God, I got to chapter 4, and it's like, oh, it's computer this, and then I got a gremlin. And I'm like, I know, but you've got to get through the book. And I read it, and I thought, and like you said, oh, that's it. I know what I'm doing now. That's it. I'm on the road. And then 6 months later, boom! I was like, oh, I need to read the book again.
That's right. I thought I had arrived.
I'm enlightened. I'm good to go. I'm enlightened. No, you're not. Read the book again.
That's right. Keep going back.
Absolutely. Oh, mate. Honestly, what a great chat. What a great chat.
Yeah. Oh, bless you. Thank you. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. As I said before, keep doing this. Really important.
I love it. We're getting so many viewers in now. It's absolutely fantastic. To everyone that's tuned in, it's good. And we're building and we're growing. And that's what it is. We're planting these seeds that just gives this place. There's so many places you can get help. I know you mentioned them as well. And there's just so many places now you can get help. There's so many places. So that's... For a lot of the times, it's without that judgment part. When you hear people just keep going through the motions, I'm like, there's only you. And I say that to my clients. I've said that in my Facebook group and stuff like that. There's no life coach or therapist that's going to change your life. You're going to change your life by going to see these people.
But usually
changes.
Usually people aren't ready to do that until they've reached the lowest point, though, right? They have to reach that bottom. And for me, it was that moment standing on the balcony. That was my rock bottom for sure. And that was when I started to turn it around. But you almost have to hit that low before you're right. The pain has to outweigh the work that it's going to take, right?
Yes, 100%. Look, I'm going to say thank you, mate, because I'm going to have to do a little sign off with everyone. Richard, thank you. Stay in contact. If you ever need help, reach out. Always here. Thank you very much. Everybody wave goodbye.
Love you, Caddy.
Spacey. Cheers, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Not a problem. Thank you, Cena. Thank you very much. Cena's going to be behind the scenes right now. And he's like, Caddy, you've only got 60 seconds left. You've only got 60 seconds left. 30 seconds left. Look, it was a jam-packed show. I genuinely hope you found this helpful. Go to the website, monkeymindrelaxation.com. There is some free meditations if you want those meditations. If you resonate with my voice, get onto the free resources, download those meditations. If you ever need to chat, just click on the chat box, get in contact. As always, thank you very much, Leslie, Veronica, Matt, who was in the show as well, Graham, who was in the show, Chris Hall. Big love from Cuddy. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you very much.